Have you guys ever had a simple online task turn into a giant process with accounts and passwords, emails, verifications? You think it's going to be quick and it just keeps on going. Technology should make our lives easier, not harder. You go to apply for something and you need authenticator apps and you need to click on one of the little squares to pick all the things with traffic lights out to verify you're a human. It's just insanity. And then it asks, you get partway through a form for an application or whatever you're doing, and it asks for documents that you haven't seen in 10 years. So you're digging through your garbage up in your room trying to find this paper or that paper. You're scrambling, looking through emails, trying to find something that you could put in to continue in the process. It's absolutely insane. And forget about making a mistake on there. If you do, you can't just call someone and ask. The whole thing is crazy. And it's not just this area. This same thing applies to everything. Take cars, for example. You've got sensors everywhere. It's another example of how complicated things are. Everything is complicated. You have to be an expert to have any idea what's going on. So you've got sensors everywhere. Sometimes you get lucky, you see a broken wire or whatever, you can fix that, no problem. But typically, you'll have to scan the codes. You'll have to have a scan tool. You can get your cheap $30 one and get the code. But then when you have the code, you'll need to know what that code means. So you get online, try and find that. And then sometimes that code is a symptom of something bigger. So you'll need wiring diagrams, which usually come with expensive software. Or if you're like me, you'll get on YouTube and start hunting for someone who was unfortunate enough to figure this out on their own, and maybe you can get a lead there on what to do. For example, I had a van I was working on. You wouldn't believe what was wrong with it in the end, but instead of just having a regular fuse box like cars had for forever, it's got a fuse box with a few relays and fuses on top that you can pull out old style, and then inside the box it's got soldered relays that are soldered into printed circuit boards. So if something goes wrong with this, you need one of those giant magnifying glasses and precision soldering tools to be able to fix it. And on top of that, you don't know where to start, which one to replace inside there. So it's just crazy. So I ended up calling the dealer to see how much a new box was. It was going to be like 1,200 plus tax or something, and they were on back order for 2 years. So I went to my local junkyard and got one for $100. It worked great. 3 months later or something, it blew, and the van was no longer working. So I got another box, put it in, but I'm like, something else must be wrong here. So I went hunting for weeks in spare time, looking for what was going on. It ended up being a broken ground wire, but it wasn't completely sheared off. There was a few broken strands, and it was really dirty looking. But this ground wire was hidden. It was buried underneath motor mounts. You had to tear all sorts of stuff out of the engine bay just to see what was going on. So it's just crazy. It ended up being too that I replaced the fuel pump relay and wired in an external fuel pump relay. Thanks to YouTube, someone was kind enough to put directions on there how to do it. Still not an easy task, even with the directions. And then there's used cars. If you're buying a used car, I'm looking for a used car. I'm not in a rush, but I'm just trying to find a deal. It seems harder than ever now. If you do find a deal now, it's online, and it seems that because everything's so expensive, there's 20 other people ahead of you. I don't know how you get to be the first one to inquire about the vehicle. There's always 20 people ahead of you. And if you live in the Rust Belt, even if you are the first person to go and see the vehicle, it's probably rusted out. If it's 8 or 9 years old, if it hasn't been undercoated, it's getting pretty ripe under there. And then you've got to think about liens. Has this person not been paying their bills? And so you have to figure that out and find out, make sure there's no liens owing on the vehicle. I heard a story recently of a guy who fixes up cars, He bought a car unknowingly. There was liens on it. He didn't check, I guess, because it was like a $6,000 car or something. And then so he fixed the car up nice and sold it for still a good price. Someone was happy to get it. And then the person that ended up buying the car was notified that there was like 20,000 owing on a $6,000 car. Like it's just crazy. So that's the kind of situation you can get yourself into. You got to watch it. There's always like 7 layers of fiasco built into most situations today that weren't there not so long ago. So it's not just cars either. I have an older oven in my kitchen, and just recently we were cooking some food. Somebody noticed that there was smoke in the house, and so they came out and got me. I was in the garage doing whatever, and it ended up being that, well, the smoke was billowing like crazy. Like if you weren't right there to notice it, your house would be wrecked from smoke damage. It was unbelievable, the stink of burning plastic. It was like blue green smoke pouring out of the back of it. I won't say the brand on here, but anyhow, I pulled the stove out from the wall, unplugged it, and took the back off it. It ended up being that the control board was on the edge of bursting into flames. And stoves are like half plastic now. Like the tops of them are plastic and all this stuff. And there's stuff above my stove, so that would have caught on fire in no time. Needless to say, the control boards are worth more than the stove is, so forget that idea. I just tossed it and got another one. Used, of course, but we'll see how that turns out. So far, so good. I guess that sort of ties into the quality of everything. It's like trash now. Trash cars, trash appliances. What do you do? Try and use older stuff. So basically, it ties into everything that you go to do. You go to do a simple job, and it turns into the 7 layer fiasco again. You need the right tool. You don't have the right tool, or it's really expensive. You need some strange part that's not readily available at your closest store, so you're ordering, it's taking weeks to come in. Or you break something trying to get it apart because plastic clips now are everywhere, so we know how those go when they get older, especially if they're introduced to heat cycles. They get really fragile and snap off. So it's just it's just a fair kettle of fish. Nothing straightforward anymore. I don't think it's that people aren't smart like they used to be or something, or they're lazy or what have you. I think everyone is dealing with more and more complicated systems pretty much in every aspect of life. The technology should make our lives simpler. Things are more and more technical, you can't control that. There's more situations now than ever where you need outside help, where not so long ago you could have just did it yourself or figured it out. So more and more people are getting stuck when trying to do something, and then eventually they just sort of give up, and then they're hiring people to do everything. It just seems that things aren't as simple as they used to be. And I guess that's enough of a rant for today. We'll catch you in the next one.